The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
There's been a lot that's been going on in the football world as a whole. In college football, we had the national championship earlier on this week. It feels like forever ago, but it was just about 3 days ago. And we're going to talk about that and give our reactions on that, as well as some coaching mix-ups. We had a legend retire, and we're going to get into the NFL, talk about the playoffs, coaching fires, and all kinds of stuff. But we're going to talk about all of this today on Belly Up After Dark. Welcome in, everybody. It's been a little while since we've had a Belly Up After Dark, but we want to make sure that everyone has their drink and is ready to kick back, relax, and just talk some sports. And of course, I'm not alone. I've got other Belly Up personalities with me. If you're looking at the screen, to my right is my co-host, Jeremy. He didn't want to travel in the blizzard to make it over to me. And then just below me, I've got Jared Clem from the Corner Booth podcast. And then over to the right of him, we've got Hector from Insert Name FC. So we've got, and then of course, I'm the host of Rising to the Occasion. We're all Belly Up personalities. We're going to have fun, guys. Who's ready to talk some football?
At this point, it's at nauseum for the next month and a half. I'm fucking ready for it. Let's hit it.
Absolutely. I mean, just looking at it too. I mean, it's crazy to think the end of the football season is already here. I mean, we're completely done with college football now until next year. Even though it's still kind of crazy looking at all of the off-season stuff that's going on, and then for a lot of teams in the NFL, your season's over. Now we're getting into the playoffs. I'm pretty excited to kind of dive into the playoffs and kind of talk about that. Before we get too much further, though, we want to mention the sponsor for this episode, and that is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is absolutely the place to go when you're purchasing tickets. I have used SeatGeek for quite some time, especially since being a partner with them. SeatGeek is the best place to buy all tickets. You can buy tickets to all kinds of events, such as sporting events. If you're going to go to a sporting event, maybe you're going to go to an NFL playoff game, which we're going to talk about tonight. Maybe you want to go to a concert. That's also there. If you want to go to a theater, some sort of theater play, or whatever those things are called. I'm not too much into those, but if you're wanting to look for it, if it's an event, they probably have your tickets on SeatGeek. You can go to SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app and use the code BellyUpSports and get yourself $20 off. An amazing deal over there. SeatGeek also makes it very easy for you to find the best deals by looking for the different color coding system. They've got green, lets you know that it's the best deal. Yellow, not such a great deal. And red means look around, you can probably find a better deal. So they make it very easy on you. They also make it very easy to find where you want to sit and where you want to find your seats. SeatGeek is absolutely amazing for all of that, and they are also completely verified, so you don't have to worry about purchasing a ticket and then it not working when you go to scan it in. So SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app. It is absolutely the best place to get all of your tickets. So go to SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app. And again, use that code BellyUpSports and get yourself $20 off your next ticket purchase. But guys, let's get into it and let's get rolling because like I said, we've got a lot to touch up on. We might dive into UFC if we get that far, but that was kind of down the list and I didn't mention it in that stinger a little bit. Maybe we'll touch on UFC if we get into it. But there's just so much to talk about. Let's start off with the college football world, and let's start off with the big news that happened yesterday. Nick Saban getting, I guess not getting fired, almost said getting fired, but him retiring, him announcing his retirement, where even the Alabama Crimson Tide staff didn't know about this. Big news, not just to Alabama, not just to the SEC, but to the college football world. Hector, I'll start off with you, man. Was this something that you saw coming? Was this something that kind of hit you out of left field? How do you feel about the Nick Saban retiring, stepping away from college football?
It's insane, man. Like, you're talking about the guy that built the evil empire, Alabama. I say this in my show's producer Spencer. He's a straight Alabama fan, so I'm sure he's very heartbroken. I need to check up on him actually now that I think about that. But that's not important. What is important is that the guy has just an amazing resume. I mean, I think let's be fair, man. I think he's had an amazing career. I don't think he has anything left to prove. He's won the national championship in the original format and even in the playoff format. Would have him winning the 12-team playoff, would have that been significant? Maybe, but when you really think about it, the man has brought so much talent into the NFL, and I think it took me by surprise, but I think at the end of the day, I think he can sit back and literally beat Thanos and just know that he's done a really great job in the world of college football.
Yeah, I don't think he has to prove anything to anyone. It's just it's crazy. But Jared, how about you? I know we were talking a little bit about it yesterday on the phone, but did it take you by a little bit of a surprise?
So it took me by surprise at initial, and then I thought about it, and then I thought about it more this morning because it's weird. Like right now at my day job, like I got most of the boys working outside. My CEO's out at the other office location. Our counter guy's out, so I'm in the office by myself here in CBS Sports Network all day, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm still talking about it. I'm like, you know what? It kind of makes sense why he's out. And it sucks he had to lose out in the Rose Bowl, but it was an amazing game. There's apparently alleged rumors about Miss Terry being sick. I hope that's not true because she's apparently a sweetheart, according to all my friends who are Alabama graduates who've even met her or met her at events or whatever. That aside, unlike Dabo, who is like trying to fight against the whole NIL and transfer portal shit, like my college has embraced it. Whatever angle, right there. Yeah, that college, right there, Miami. Yeah, my college has embraced it, right? Like they're going after transfer portal guys. They're trying really hard at it. They're not going full Florida State, where they're basically a team of mercenaries with one homegrown talent this year. Basically, when you look at this thing with Saban, does he really want to go out and keep recruiting? Does he want to go out and try to compete with NIL money, dollars, and all this stuff like that? The college football he started with at Michigan State and worked his way up and won a national title at LSU and then multiple LSU titles at Alabama. That college football is not the same anymore. We also have the 12-team playoff starting next year. It's a lot of stuff to go through. And my man has nothing left to prove. He is the greatest college football coach of all time. I will argue that to the death with anybody. And I'm not even an Alabama fan. Even Alabama Twitter, for some reason, loves me. Don't ask me why.
We don't know why either.
Yeah, well, I'm known as Jared, apparently, because of Kevin being part of Alabama Twitter and us being co-hosts for a long time. I'm Miami Jared, and they all love me for some fucking reason. Don't ask me why. Have them follow me, which I don't get why. I'm not fun on Twitter. My show's more fun. That being said, it makes a little more sense the more I think about it.
Yeah, like, no, I'm right there with you. I mean, honestly, any coach
5 years ago.
Yeah, any coach that has to deal with NIL and the transfer portal and what it's become, just because with no law really bearing down on either one of them, it feels like I don't blame any coach for not wanting to be a coach in today's NCAA, and I guess not really NCAA and today's college football and just in general, especially when you talk about Nick Saban, because like you said, Hector, he won it under the old BCS. He also won it under the new system with the playoffs. Now the playoffs expanding, does he really want to have to deal with that and have to deal with all the extra just kind of total BS that has been thrown into college football? But Jeremy, you've been quiet over there. I know you and I had talked about this yesterday on our show, but give your thoughts to everybody who didn't hear.
Where do I even begin with the Nick Saban situation? Obviously, first things first, obviously, if the rumors are true about Nick Saban's wife being sick, obviously, first things first, obviously, our thoughts and prayers to getting healthy and having a speedy recovery, then hoping for nothing but the best here. But going for Nick Saban, obviously, like you said, we talked a little bit about our show yesterday, Josh. I mean, looking at the situation overall, just what left does Nick Saban have to do? I mean, I know I mentioned this yesterday, but look at Nick Saban's record. He was 292, 71, and 1 in his college coaching career. Now, you look at a lot of other coaches, they're looking to maybe even crack 500. Nick Saban was way, obviously, above and beyond that situation. Nick Saban has literally put all of his blood, sweat, and tears onto the field, on the headset, and every little individual step that he's gotten so many of these talented players along the way. Then obviously now you look at some of the players that were able to be able to have Nick Saban as a head coach, and he's just truly gone to show for what talent he can do with the Alabama Crimson Tide. And this is just definitely something that the college football world is definitely not going to be the same without Nick Saban, and just even the SEC or anybody, obviously. But I mean, shit, look at the situation. Nick Saban, he's had a hell of a career. Now, in my perspective, that's not the way that obviously I wanted to end for Nick Saban losing in the Rose Bowl. And Nick Saban, I can say so much about Nick Saban, but Nick Saban, I hope we can see you somewhere, not just sitting on your couch watching college football on Saturday afternoons, just thinking, man, I really wish I can be there. But at the end of the day, I still think Nick Saban could easily come on College Game Day or any kind of stipulation, just because, like I said, without seeing Nick Saban or hearing anything from him, it's definitely going to be really different. Just because you know how Alabama is, they're really really tight on this kind of stuff, and they're not like other teams. And he knows obviously what he's doing in his program for what he's done for Alabama, but nothing but the best for Nick Saban. And I really hope we get to see Nick Saban around more.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we will too. We talked about this a little bit on our show, just talking about how Nick Saban, he's even been in the media some too, and so just overall looking at what he's done, I just don't see him completely stepping away. I think it's going to be pretty hard to completely step away from it. I mean, looking back at like Joe Pa, that's kind of what I thought Nick Saban would be. Thinking of Joe Paterno and how long he was with Penn State, and finally him stepping completely away from college football. I thought it was going to take that, a scandal or just being way too old that you can't even stand up on the field or something anymore. I didn't see Nick Saban stepping away on his own free will. But like we mentioned, it doesn't make sense, or it totally makes sense whenever you take a look at everything around college football and just everything that's kind of it's going towards. But we talked a little bit yesterday on our show about some possible coaching hires to take over. Who do you guys have any names that really spark an interest to you whenever you think of some of the names that have been thrown out there? I know Dan Lanning was one big one, but of course that was kind of shut down by him in the media. I kind of made the comment that Lincoln Riley also said that he wasn't going to go anywhere, and then he left Oklahoma. So, that doesn't totally mean anything, but I believe Dan Lanning. Of course, another one, Lane Kiffin was one that got brought up. And then you see guys like Dabo. Apparently, D'Amico Ryans is a fan favorite. The fans do not want Dabo. But do you guys have any that you guys would throw out there? I mean, Jared, Hector?
I got Joey Freshwater, a.k.a. Mr. Lane Kiffin. All you Alabama fans who've been around Alabama bars know who Joey Freshwater is. The other name I saw gets run around was Sark, but I don't think Sark would leave after he's gotten Texas to this level. I think that'd be kind of a lateral move for him. But Nick Saban was like the pinnacle of Alabama coaching.
Yeah.
His best assistant, besides Kirby Smart in the last 10 years, arguably was Lane Kiffin. Why not Lane Kiffin return to the promised land and be the prodigal son? And because Lane Kiffin has proven he's a mercenary. He does not care. Yeah. He will leave ask Tennessee, gets him ranked, dips. So I think it was the Eric Berry year, if I remember correctly. That being said, I believe the favorite, in my opinion, would be Lane Kiffin. D'Amico Ryans after 1 year is not leaving. That's Alabama fan delusion.
Well, and especially,
I appreciate the thought, though. Like I love the thought. It's not happening.
And especially after, so you took a team that did nothing last year and brought them not just to the playoffs, but 10 wins on top of that. Because that was one thing. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Hector, I know you're praying that he doesn't leave the Texans. But do you have any other names that kind of sparked your interest for the Alabama job?
For starters, keep D'Amico Ryans' name out of anyone's mouth, because that man is also not only, I mean, I understand he's an Alabama legend, but he's also a Texans legend as well.
He is now, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he was also the captain that took the Texans to their first playoff. So.
Oh, really? I guess I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, former Texan, so everything.
That's awesome.
Also former Eagle.
We traded him to you.
Hey, 5 good years, 3 Pro Bowls with us. I'm not complaining.
We gave you sloppy seconds, he said.
Not much that sloppy. He's a Pro Bowler with us, but
still love that man. No, Lane Kiffin was actually the name that I thought of. I think people could say that they're not interested in this job, but we're talking about Alabama. Like, you're talking about a very big opportunity to, one, you have an amazing recruiting pool. Alabama is just a breeding ground for just football talent. I know Kelsey's going to get too excited when I said that. But I mean, it's an enticing job. Plus, it's the SEC, but also it's a high pressure job. There's expectations when you go to Alabama. But Lane Kiffin.
Even higher expectations now, because I think everyone's been saying this. Nobody wants to follow up after Nick Saban. I do think that's the only thing that would keep anyone away from Alabama. And so I do think right now Alabama's smartest move would be to go to somebody who is a good coach, but they're not going to bring you to the promised land, and they're going to keep you at an 8-9 wins, and then you move on to the guy that's going to take over, because the best coach doesn't want to take over for the absolute best ever to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to take over for the guy that took over for him. And so, I think that's kind of the move that they're going to do. Hopefully they can get lucky like LSU did whenever Nick Saban left and they picked up Les Miles. But let's jump over to the chat real quick, just because I see we got plenty of people jumping in there. DJ Stewart says, Jared looks like a much less caffeinated and more alcoholic Dan Campbell. So I love that.
Bite kneecap, someone's hitting him with a sledgehammer.
He also comes back and gives us a little bit of his intake. DJ does. He gives his I guess input on who's going to go where to fill what spots. Nick Saban to the Patriots, and then Bill Belichick to Bama. They gave us a false sense of hope. And empires have fallen, but in reality, they were just rebranding.
Was it a coach swap?
Yeah, just a straight up trade. Like let's just make a straight up trade. Just do it the unconventional way. I mean, if that were to happen, that would be absolutely insane. It is kind of cool to think both of them were at the Browns at one point. And I saw a meme that said something about not even the two greatest coaches of all time could fix the Browns. But I mean, that would probably.
I mean, it would be cool. It'd be cool to see Bill Belichick, go to Alabama and test those waters. But I think he really wants that record. The all-time wins as an NFL coach.
It's all he needs, 9 wins.
Yeah. Well, and I saw somebody, I can't remember who it was, but I was seeing actually several people too, but there was somebody in specific that said something about Bill Belichick doesn't want to go and recruit and have to deal with NIL. I was like, dude, that's literally what he does in the NFL right now. He's in charge of a lot of the personnel.
Yeah, he doesn't have to travel in
True.
the NFL. That's
True.
the kicker. My man
that
is
true.
a dinosaur. He's 70+ years old.
I mean,
Dude,
he can get paid enough to not have to travel either, though. He can just send his minions off to go do all the traveling.
They prove.
What's the lacrosse talent pool like in Alabama?
Let me ask it though. Like, Alabama's the 5th best recruiting state in the country. What if there's a recruit who wants to talk to the head coach who's out of Texas, like a 5-star running back? I don't think Bill wants to make that trek. I think he'd rather go make a trek to Nantucket. So my thing is, I think Bill is going to be either the Falcons or the Chargers next head coach. That is my, you want my stone cold lock of the century as Ghost makes his first appearance of the day. Hey, buddy, say hello.
We also have Cold Iron. Cold Iron jumps in the chat, says, after dark, let's go. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. We're back, and we will be back. Jared, we decided it's going to be every 2nd and 4th Thursday of the month, right?
Yes, we're gonna attempt every 2nd and 4th of the month. And you know what the best part about it is between me and Josh, somehow this won't be a complete shit show.
Hey, how about that? We'll make it pretty decent. It'll be.
Well, me and him are yin and yang basically, so it's perfect.
Yeah. And of course we got Kelsey jumping in there, the resident Auburn man. He says Saban is definitely done with football. He's been the pinnacle. He's been at the pinnacle. Nothing better out there for him or that could afford him. As an Auburn fan, I'm glad he's retiring, though. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I know Blake and I were talking last night on our show on Rising to the Occasion because he's an Auburn guy. And, man, the dude is toxic as can be. If you were to go on his Twitter or on his Facebook, he is just as toxic as can be. He is just ripping into the Alabama fans. But for Auburn fans, you're happy to see Nick Saban leave. But let's all be honest, you're also a little bit sore from the fact that you'll never be able to redeem yourself from 4th and goal from the 31-yard line? You're never going to be able to redeem yourself from that.
Fourth
So
and a
just,
Why'd you have to hit him with that nut? That's a nut shot, Josh.
I
Why'd
mean,
you have to hit him
just
Damn.
Facts are
based in
facts.
it. You know, facts. Yeah, facts are facts. You
It
know,
is
facts.
facts are
Facts
facts,
don't
man.
care about your feelings. Don't you ever listen to Ben Shapiro? But
No,
No,
only
you-
Steve O'Connor
Nuts,
or shot
wear
Brett
that
Cooper.
job. Deal with it.
no, I mean, honestly, I'm right there with Auburn fans too, though, because as an Oklahoma fan, Hector, are you a Texas fan?
I am not. Even though my family member gave me some University of Texas sandals, house slippers to be specific, and my family told me do not be a dick. So so I just they're super comfortable. So I mean I'm a Texas boy, but all that. But actually no, I rock with USC.
Okay. Okay. So you're kind
Unfortunately.
of on the other side of my Oklahoma Sooners coaching carousel and debacle there.
And
so.
I am miserable until I saw Miller Mouse.
There you go.
But no, I mean, looking at Oklahoma and Texas, though, going over, I mean, you have to feel pretty excited unless they do end up pulling Sarkisian, because if you think of Sarkisian, he will ruin Texas if he ends up leaving to go out of Alabama. Not only that, but for Alabama, I mean, honestly, everyone else looking in, you would hope that you do that, because now Texas comes in, they're going to be destroyed. Everyone's going to leave Texas. And then on top of that, he's not going to have a great year with Alabama. So, you know, I'm curious on how all that happens. But I do think for Oklahoma and Texas, if you keep Sarkisian, I think you have to be pretty excited about this news too, knowing that you're still going to have a good Alabama team. It's still going to be tough to beat them, but you don't have Nick Saban to beat. And I think that's pretty big.
I think obviously if somehow they, and I mean, you know, that's the thing that's crazy about college football is that with these boosters, man, I mean, contracts can be easily bought out.
Oh yeah.
And I think if somehow Alabama can get Sarkisian, if somehow that happens, that transfer portal is going to ruin everybody.
My God. It's already been. Listen, it's been what 24 hours. I've already seen 5 Alabama guys go.
Yeah.
I've seen the transfer portal in the last 6
Some big
hours
ones.
been nuts.
Well, and my dad and I were joking.
Fans,
Sorry, go ahead, Jared.
no, one of my fellow Miami fans, who's a buddy of mine, texted me 4 times. He goes, "Bro, we got so and so." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Jason Taylor's kid, and his dad's coaching for us. Like, of course we got him." And then we got like some edge rusher who flipped from Texas A&M because, come on, who wants to go play for a cult? But that being said, like, you know, it's been and then I saw like 5 guys transferred out of Alabama today. 2 went to Florida State, 1 went to Ohio State, and I'm like, it's only going to get crazier. It's only January 11th. Like, how the hell are we going to make it to March without this going to complete chaos? But I love the transfer portal. I think it's the best thing's ever happened in college football. I think the NAL with it has made it a little bit volatile, but transfer portal.
I think for both NIL and the transfer portal, ultimately it comes down to self-governance. I think that's the main thing that it all comes down to. But there has to be rules set in place, and there just isn't. It's a free-for-all. It's become more hectic than free agency. I mean, Oklahoma just pulled in Casey Thompson, that was a Texas, then Nebraska, then FAU quarterback, going into his 7th year. He's only going to be a coach. He's only going to come in to learn how to be a coach, but still, he's still eligible to play right now, and it's crazy because of all of this. But yeah, I mean, looking at it, you know, my dad and I were joking though about with Alabama losing so many players. Like he said, "Oh great, Alabama's gonna be really hurting having to play with all those sucky 4-star second string players." You know, just looking at it, I mean, how much does this actually hurt Alabama? But
Bro,
you know,
Miami lands 5 4-stars. I'm doing cartwheels down Main Street. Like,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't necessarily think that the guys are at least committed to Alabama, because at the end of the day, it's Bama. But
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is just the fact, like, whoever comes in to be that coach, you know, kind of same. You know, obviously, you know, you're a Sooner fan. You saw when Lincoln Riley went to USC, a lot of guys started pulling out of that commitment and started moving to USC. So I mean, there a lot, and I mean, we've all seen it. We all played NCAA. You know, guys transfer out a lot of times. So and I think that's also something that's gonna be important to know, like and I think that's also important on Alabama, is that they got to move pretty quickly, especially with this transfer portal, to hire somebody, because, you know, one, you don't want to lose guys, but at the same time, you know, you want to make sure that you have enough time to get those new guys that are going to be coming over in the transfer portal.
Yeah, 100%. And it's kind of crazy that you bring that up too, because, you know, like in a lot of cases, if a coach moves, you're going to follow the coach. But I guess I'm not really sure what you do I guess you just go and try to find the next best thing, which I guess would be Georgia. So, man, they're going to just jump ship from Alabama over to Georgia. But we also have Right of the Line. He's in the chat. He says Bama should hire Gus Malzahn just for the humor factor. That would be hilarious. I also saw, there's some Auburn guys that were chanting out, you need to hire, what's his name? Brian Harsin. Bring him in. He'll save the program. More or less just hoping that he comes in and just completely murders the entire team and the entire program, everything that's been built.
Alabama will burn down.
And we also have Chris Prince. He says, as a Georgia fan, low-key super happy that as of right now, Dan Lanning's staying put in Oregon because I heard some crazy stuff. Looking at Dan Lanning, I mean, I think he would be the best fit out of everybody that I've seen so far. I think he has the right culture. I think he's got the right mentality. He's a defensive guy. And I think he can bring those guys that don't know what to do now that their coach is gone. I think he can bring those guys back. So I do think that would have been the best. But I do believe what Dan Lanning said. I think he's telling the truth that he's going to stay there. So I don't think there's much of a chance to get him in. Although money talks. Money
does talk.
I mean,
but he's also going to the Big Ten.
Yeah, true. And that's the next best thing, really. It's SEC or Big Ten, one of the two, and you're right there in the mix. So
there's no Power 5 anymore. It's the Power 2 now.
Yeah, it is. It's the Power 2, and the ACC and the Big 12 are just kind of out there like, hey, what's up, guys? We can still hang around here and there.
Minor league conference.
I mean, the ACC's.
I'm so sorry, man.
The ACC's going to be destroyed. I mean, they're going to fall apart. It's just a matter of time. It's kind
Josh,
of like
you already know what ACC stands for, don't you?
This is the word I've heard as an ACC fan I don't think I have connections, but I have connections who have connections. Within the next 2 years, Miami, Florida State, and possibly North Carolina will find their way out of the ACC. The ACC is trying to hold them hostage in this TV deal, but basically the three colleges basically who are getting Clemson was that third college over North Carolina for the last decade, but after 2 bad years, they're kind of holding on to this Dabo name. But all it stands, the ACC is basically holding on to them like hostages, but they're finding legal loopholes to get out of it. Florida State already almost got one with this whole college football playoff deal, and Miami's right on their coattails. You can't have Florida State without Miami; they have to be in the same conference. So they're both those two are out of there, and then possibly North Carolina, Clemson, the other two. And then with North Carolina leaving, where does it leave Duke for basketball? And then you throw in NC State thinks they deserve to be in a better conference. So the ACC is the next conference to crumble. It's going to be the big three in about.
Well, because I think the Big 12 made the right moves. The teams that they brought in, Arizona was actually a really good pickup in disguise. Nobody saw it coming, but Arizona's a good team right now, and they showed that
baseball,
throughout this.
Basketball, and their football program's growing. So
exactly, yeah. And so then you've got Utah, another very solid team, and I don't think Utah's going anywhere right now. And then just of course pulling in Colorado, that's going to bring in money, just because regardless, I think. It's not going to bring in as much money as it would have last year, but it's going to bring in money.
There's a balance with the Big 12 because, you got your basketball schools, you got your football schools. Baseball, I think, it's a very underrated conference when it comes to baseball.
Yeah,
I know we're all distracted by Vanderbilt, but, so
what sport they're good at.
The one sport they're good at.
Well, math and baseball, that's all Vanderbilt's good at.
Which, makes sense.
Yeah. Just looking at it, I think it's interesting, and Vince put a comment down below too. He says Texans will have to give Ryans a raise at the very least. Bama can pay them much more money. I think you have to give him a raise just for what he's done, but then I think that raise that you were gonna give him, you need to bump it another, 10-15% on top of that, just because, I do think that Bama job being open, don't take any chances. You lock him down as best you can. But I also just don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think I definitely don't think he's going to explore right now being in the playoffs. He's way too concerned with that and what they have ahead of him. And then we've got Chris Lipoff. Man, Jared, you got the right guy to come in on and fill in for Mason. He fits the corner booth so well. He says, "Sup, fellas? It's Chris, that goon from corner booth pod. Just letting y'all know I had a Miller Lite and a mint chocolate chip ice cream. Should I call 911? Don't feel so hot." Man,
I love that
I don't
kid.
I don't know where you found him, and I don't know
this
how you
man
got him
is
in, but he's
dynamite
perfect
wrapped
for
in
your show.
gasoline. Listen, when he's sober, he's dynamite wrapped in gasoline. All he needs a match. So, like, honestly, with this kid, I'm very blessed. Mike decided to throw this intern my way, and now he's not intern anymore. Now he's Chris, our screw off third fucking co-host. So this motherfucker's
Bro,
crazy.
give me 5 Chris's back when I was in the Marine Corps, bro. I'd be the happiest fucking guy in the unit.
No, he fits the corner booth, like the mentality, the just overall personality, everything about him. It fits corner booth perfect. You definitely found the right one there.
For Matt's mellow, even keel demeanor, I think Chris is the perfect like balance with him. It's like pairing fucking cheddar cheese.
No, absolutely. Chris Prince also jumps in and says Lane is the candidate in my opinion, but agree with Josh. The legacy of Saban could be scary for the wrong guy. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there. I think it's you don't want to take over for the guy. You want to take over for the guy that took over for the guy. And then
You realize how big of shoes that they have to fill for Nick Saban? Those shoes
They're
are probably
huge.
10 miles wide.
yeah, I mean it's tough.
Like it's not even like 80s Miami like pressure, because I mean like the good thing about Miami was that they just copied, add their version to it, but made it better. And then copy, make their version, and then obviously the scandals came in. But like with Alabama, I don't think you can do that. There's no way you could do that with what Nick Saban was able to do.
No, you're not going to repeat it. I mean, think of what he did at Alabama alone. It was absolutely absurd. 13 SEC championships, 6 national championships. He won another national championship with LSU. I mean, you're doing it, and it's not like he did this. I talked about this yesterday. It's not like Oklahoma winning, I think, 6 straight Big 12 titles. It's not like that. He's winning in the SEC and then going on and winning the national championship, not just once, not twice, all the way up to 6 times with one team. The dude is. I mean, it's crazy to see what he was able to do there and build a dynasty that I don't think we will ever see again. I don't think we'll ever see a dynasty of any team that great again, especially with the way that college football is moving now, because you have tougher conferences. The SEC was tough before. Now you're adding 2 more teams that are going to make it tougher, and I think you're going to see that even shift to where you're going to have even an even tougher SEC later on when we have more realignment, or however you want to call it. And then, of course, the Big Ten, expanding the playoffs. There's so many factors that go into it where I don't think you're ever going to see that kind of a dynasty again. But guys, let's jump over to the national championship. I know it's been a few days. It feels like it's been like 2 weeks. It might just be because I've had a really long week. I've had to just do nothing but move snow around and drive through snow, and then move more snow around and drive through more snow, and it's kind of made the week pretty long. But
Thank
going
God I
back
live
to the
in
national,
Texas.
what's that?
Thank God I live in Texas.
Yeah, I know, no joke. You've got a
I
lucky down
just
there.
don't
in a fucking hurricane, okay? I don't want to fucking hear it.
No, I mean we've just gotten hammered, and then now
You
we're
only
getting
got to worry
hammered
about
again.
hurricanes, and then when the weather's like 20 degrees. I mean, yeah.
That's
But-
rough.
The national championship, Michigan ends up taking down the Washington Huskies. First off, can we stop calling this a blowout? Because if you watched the game, the score was a blowout. I'm going to give that to you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you watched the game, it wasn't a blowout. All right, this was a great national championship to watch. If you watched the entirety of the game, it really was. Washington was almost in it, almost every drive, and every drive it felt like they were going to put themselves back in the game and tie up the game or possibly take a lead, and they just couldn't do it. Hats off to Michigan's defense, who all year guys like Jeremy were just cutting down, saying that they didn't play anybody, but Michigan's defense was phenomenal, and they proved that they were great. Jeremy, I'm going to start off with you, man. I know you and I talked about this, but again, not everyone has heard your take on the national championship. Did it go as you expected, and what surprised you the most there in that national championship game?
The national championship game, it took a little bit of my expectation to see how the game was going. Like, obviously, for Michigan, they couldn't have had a better start to the game, obviously, and then getting the touchdown going right away. That was big for them, obviously. But like what we talked about for a preview for the national championship, we were thinking it was going to be not even a one-possession game. We were thinking maybe it's going to be like a field goal kind of game here. But, I mean, for looking at Michigan, for what they were able to bring to the table, their their running game was definitely a big factor, and obviously J.J. McCarthy being able to actually sling the ball around and just do his thing. Like, he had his moments, obviously, but it was really big on the running game between Edwards and Blake Corum. Their running game was just absolutely unbelievable for Michigan. Washington's defense, I will give them credit. They made some adjustments, then they shut down the running game a little bit, but they were obviously still not able to contain Michigan's running game. But for Washington, it was just a puzzle that just could never be really connected for them, honestly. I mean, we're used to seeing Michael Penix Jr. just slinging the ball around, making it look effortless, and he still does, obviously, but we're used to seeing him connecting, obviously, to all of his unbelievable talented wide receivers that he has out there, and they're just being overthrown or just thrown out to the sidelines. Then this is definitely something that I at least obviously was not expecting to see out of Michael Penix Jr. But take it for granted. I know he had the injury and he was still playing through it, obviously. It's one thing to have like a little bit injured, like a jam finger or something, and play through it. But obviously, once you have a rib injury, that's definitely a really, really big beneficial hurt that can really impact you in a game. Obviously, I know obviously all the quarterbacks wear the rib pads for taking shot after shot. But I mean, for what they did, I gotta give some credit to Washington, and just looking at the overall expectation of the game, it was kind of what I expected. But obviously, like you mentioned, Josh, if you watch the whole game, the score says one thing, but the actual play of the game says a complete different thing here. So, like I said, congratulations, obviously, to Michigan for pulling off this upset. Go Blue. Then for Washington and Michael Penix Jr., obviously, good job and congratulations on what you were able to do for Washington, and just have a stellar college career. And just, we hope you nothing but the best for when you come into the NFL, and we can hopefully see you shine. Then I'm not saying for whatever team he lands on for the first year he's going to go to the Super Bowl, obviously, but Blake did mention one good point. For his age factor, wherever he goes, it's going to be a little bit tricky into a situation for being an older quarterback. And I think that it might play a factor, just because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, Blake said a lot of these quarterbacks, they'll make it to what age was it before it's finally time?
Usually your lifespan in the NFL, I mean, you feel like maybe around 30, 35, I feel like is maybe the average. Quarterbacks obviously can go a little longer if their offensive line is doing their job. But I mean, you said it well too. I think giving hats off to Washington. I know it wasn't the year that they wanted to have at the end, but you still had 14 wins on the season. Phenomenal season to them. But Jared, how about you, man? What did you feel like was kind of kind of looking into it? What did it go as you expected the game to go, and what's that?
Making it easier on me. Let's put it. This mead is delicious, making it easier on me because this hurt. So obviously my team was eliminated from the college football playoff when we decided not to take a knee instead of run the football, because
you were eliminated because you were a Miami fan.
Silence. Okay. That being said, I had a perfect week going into for the Corner Booth 6-pack challenge, and I did a bet on it going into the national championship game. My payout was $780 on a $700 bet. For those of you who don't understand math, that's a lot of fucking money. So, that being said, I was sitting pretty, but DraftKings was disrespecting the fuck out of me and basically offered me $250, $245, $238, changed like 8 times during the day. And I said, fuck it, I'm going to let it ride. And then I watched the opening 3 drives, and I was like, we're going to need a fucking miracle for this to happen for Washington to win. Washington, and I said this on the Corner Booth about maybe an hour ago, it reminded me a lot of the 2011 national championship game between Auburn and Oregon, where the physicality of Michigan, in this case Auburn, just outclassed the Pac-12 team who had not gotten punched in the mouth like that. Now, Penix threw the ball well. 80% of his throws were either on target or close to being on target. The drops, the false start penalties, the holdings, I'm like,
that's the big thing to me, and I compiled something together too. I think I posted it on my personal Twitter, if I remember correctly. But it was just kind of funny seeing everything that was just not going right for Washington. You mentioned it, the drops. I think that was a big thing. Rome Odunze, what was that in the second quarter when he turned the wrong? He just turned the wrong way.
Gosh, he's probably halfway to like Albuquerque, New Mexico at this point. He's still running.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, man, he's wide open. Penix put it where he should have in that situation. It's just miscommunication there. There was miscommunication on so many plays. And then, of course, the interception to start the second half hurt. And then the defense stands tall and only allows 3 points out of that. And then you go down and you're marching down on offense, and then you only get 3 points. So you're back to 7-point game. And then it's just all defense from there throughout the third quarter, scoreless third quarter. Leading up to it, man, it was a very exciting game down to probably like the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. Hector, how about you, man? Did it go as you expected, and what kind of surprised you about this game?
I don't know if I was surprised by it. I think Michigan just proved why they were ranked so highly for so long. Well, I mean, obviously because also Georgia got eliminated at the end, but I mean, Michigan was always in it. I mean, aside from the whole scandal, and I know everyone wants to talk about like, should we take that away from them? But I mean, speaking as someone that had to deal with a similar scandal, I frankly don't care. But I think the thing was with this game, it was still a good game. Honestly, I enjoyed it, but it was clear that Michigan was just the better team. Washington just wasn't there at their level that day. I still was really amazed by the way Washington played this year. It was really inspirational football, I think, is the way I want to say that. That's how I felt when I was watching these guys every year. It made me excited as a Pac-12 fan. It made me excited to see like there's potential in the Pac-12. Obviously because obviously these guys are going to the Big Ten this season, the following season. But I think just Michigan was just clearly the better team. Blake Corum, dog. Edwards. I mean, I don't know if people talk about Edwards enough, but they should, because that dude was just
an animal.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's honestly unfair to have both of these guys as a two-man backfield. I mean, the only thing as an Oklahoma fan, I remember back we had Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon, two phenomenal backs, especially in college. That was scary.
Thunder and lightning.
Yeah. Well, and then you go over to Michigan. I honestly think Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. I don't know if I've ever seen a two-headed monster in the backfield like that.
Pure explosiveness.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that, and then they had a third-string guy that came in last year. I don't know if he was still on the team this year either, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. But he was an animal too. So, I mean, really, they had a third-string guy that could have stepped in and done the work too. It's crazy, and I think that helped Blake Corum in kind of his injuries and stuff that he went through. I mean, that's one thing too that, I know Jeremy and I talked about this, with Blake Corum. Do you maybe throw him into the Heisman mix this year? And obviously he didn't have the stats this year that he had last year. So I don't think he goes in there. But I think one thing that you take away is the fact that they have Donovan Edwards that takes some of the load as well. Blake Corum, man, he's a dog. And so is J.J. McCarthy. We talked about that on our show too. J.J. McCarthy is not a not a great quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback at all.
He's a fun college quarterback. He's a fun college quarterback.
He is a third-round pick.
He's got so much dog in him, though.
You gave him more than I would have given him, but
I think he works his way second or third round just because of the team that he's on. And I do think with him coming back next year, I assume that he would, and I hope that he does, because I don't think he's ready for the NFL right now. I think he could improve his game enough to become high second, even a first-round pick, if he were to show off some talent.
But he needs to cook in the oven for another year.
They're
evaluating his tape, Josh, it's a fucking nightmare. From mechanics to footwork to reads, everything looks off. My favorite thing was I watched, my favorite quarterback tape over the last 5 years has been C.J. Stroud when I'm evaluating quarterbacks in the draft. So I always look at Stroud as kind of like the benchmark of what the pinnacle top of the quarterback pyramid is. And then I go look at like JJ McCarthy. I'm like, dude, he's got happy feet in the pocket, man. It scares the hell out of me.
He does, but I mean,
really
he's athletic, and I think he does it right. I think
he uses his tools.
he does.
And unlike Johnny Manziel, he's not trying to do. He's not
more and more. I feel like we're gonna start hearing more quarterbacks like that. Like it's gonna be more of the athletic build, the guys that maybe aren't necessarily great at one thing, but can be good at a whole combination of things. And I think maybe not right now McCarthy looks enticing, but maybe in a few years, maybe then that quarterback type of McCarthy, we're gonna be like, oh man, that guy's the number one pick. So I don't think he's third round is a stretch. I think if he has a great combine, proves himself to be a third round pick. But I think but McCarthy's going to definitely be at least a fun quarterback to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said too, he's just got that dog in him where he's going to go out there and he's going to win games for you. He's I think 28-1 now as a college football starter. 27 or 28-1. I'm thinking it's 28 now because of the national championship. So he's made it to the he's made it to the playoffs twice. He's won the Big Ten twice. He's beat Ohio State twice. And now he's a national champ. I mean, it's hard to take that away from him, and he absolutely is. Kelsey comments down below. He says McCarthy is a great game manager. I do agree with that. I think he manages the game well. I do think he fits into that system because I think they draw it up to fit him perfectly. One thing that I hated with Tommy Rees this entire season, we talked about it over and over again, is that Tommy Rees was terrible, the Alabama offensive coordinator. He was terrible at fitting his game plan to Jalen Milroe, who is a phenomenal quarterback in the right system. And it showed. It showed from LSU on until they played Michigan because they didn't want to use Jalen Milroe the way that he should have been used again in the biggest game of the year. You fit your game plan to fit the guys that are on the field, and that's what Michigan does. They fit it they manage their game plan to guys like J.J. McCarthy, who isn't the greatest of quarterbacks, but then they also manage it well by knowing, hey, we run the ball really well. There's a big saying that is extremely popular around Nebraska football just because they haven't had the greatest luck of quarterbacks in the past. Past. I don't know, 7 years at least. It's
just hasn't worked good.
Yeah.
Well, it's just simple. Run the damn ball, and that's what Michigan does. They put their nose down and they just run the damn ball, and they run it right over the top of you, and you can't stop it. That was one thing that was working really well for them in the national championship, and something that I brought up with the guys over from Sports Scramble. I was talking to them during the game on their live stream, and what was crazy with Michigan running the ball so well is all of a sudden you saw a turning point where Washington said, no, we're not letting this happen anymore, and they stopped it. It was maybe midway through the second quarter. They slowed it down completely. Michigan had to go everywhere else trying to get something going. Screen game wasn't working for either team, and especially Michigan. Washington stepped up and was playing hard-nosed Big Ten football with Michigan for a little while, but man, it was a really fun game. But when do you guys think? I know Hector brought it up. When do you guys think they're going to redact the name of the national champion from this game? Maybe another cheeseburger spot for another recruit.
It's either going to happen in the next year or it's not going to happen at all.
If it happens, I'm going to be really frustrated for Michigan. The sign stealing scandal, it was a little suspect, but the thing that I have a problem with it is that literally every team does it. Now you can argue some of the specifics.
Where have I heard this before?
I mean, it really is. Every single team does it.
About it or what?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I think the slap on the wrist was fine. I'm not complaining about the slap on the wrist. If you feel like that's what should be happening, but bringing back up this whole recruiting thing with the cheeseburger gate, that is absolutely ridiculous to me.
I guarantee
leave Harbaugh alone.
Was probably going to Burger King and buying a cheeseburger for every college committee. Said, "Here you go, bet chew on me now, every one of you guys."
Well, so you can't buy the kid a $12 meal.
Oh, what? So Donald Trump could buy her by fast food, but not Michigan?
I mean, you can't buy the kid a $12 meal, but you can go out and sign this kid to your team, and he can make millions of dollars now in the NIL age. So, I mean, it's just absolutely stupid to me. I say we get past it. But, guys, I mean, you guys have anything else more on the national championship, or do you want to move into the
I'm
NFL?
ready to put it to bed at this point because I should have taken the fucking payout earlier in the game, man. I would have been happy as hell walking with 250. I got I got to pay for this week, and I'm like, fuck, credit card bill going to suck this month.
I thought I saw Jared drinking a little, a little faster. Kelsey does come down in the comments, and he says every team and every sports steals signs. It's gamesmanship. Yeah, I mean that's literally part of kind of the game a little bit. I think if it's me, I don't want to know your signs. I don't want to know your playbook. I don't want to know anything about you other than what I can see from game film, and I want to beat you knowing that I'm better than you, and that's why I beat you. That's just me, but I guess the overall, I guess, gamesmanship of actual competitiveness has just kind of gone away. But
I love the story, not necessarily like the cheating thing. I mean, obviously, don't worry, I've heard plenty enough about cheating. But I think it's just that this guy that graduated from Annapolis, of all things, to go in and like take his own time to like go and steal signs. I thought this, as many people thought was like, oh, that's so sad. And I really thought about it. I was like, shit, I might be that guy that's willing to do that shit.
Well,
just
Hector,
to get a job.
Hector, is Houston officially the city of sign stealing champions?
No, I mean, I think everybody doesn't. So
yeah, I know, but now we've had the Astros win in Houston, and now Michigan winning in Houston. It's the city of sign stealing champions.
Hey man, I feel like Houston did a really good job at hosting the national championship. I feel like we're very accommodating. You know
what? I do think it was a better. I was seeing a lot of atmosphere. A lot of videos and pictures of the atmosphere. I thought it was stupid to go to Houston. I just didn't think that was the right venue for the national championship, but they did a much better job. And you're right. I do think they hosted it very well. It was surprising to me. So hats off to the city of Houston. I do agree with you on that. But guys,
it was great, man. The atmosphere was awesome. I think the concerts that were in Shell Energy Stadium, where we, who would have thought you could have in a concert you could see John Party and 2 Chainz at the same night. But also the convention center, the college football experience, everything. It was amazing. It was great to see like the bands perform. I mean, I went to Texas Southern, so I've seen HBCU bands. So like when you see that, there's a regular band, it's just like eh. But I mean, it was just a fun experience. I think it was a fun experience. If anybody gets to experience hosting a national championship,
did you get to go down to the festivities or to the game or something?
I went to the festivities because it's free.
Yeah,
but,
that's what I figured.
It was awesome.
That's awesome.
I fucked up and not record anything, but I did enjoy it. It was awesome. I think overall,
you ruined it, man. You ruined it. But guys, let's go ahead and.
I'm a shitty millennial.
I don't blame you, man. Let's go ahead and jump into the NFL. We're going to talk some playoffs, but before we do, let's have a quick word from our friends over at Righteous Felon.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
Righteous Felon, amazing jerky. Have you guys all had Righteous Felon jerky?
Yeah, it's awesome. Honestly, I was very surprised because when I ordered, I was like, I think I came on one of somebody else's shows here at Belly Up, and they put a promo code in. So I had a few drinks in me after the show, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, let me put an order in. And I got it, and I completely forgot I put this order in, and I was just blown away. I was like, oh my God, like this is really fucking good. So yeah, I'm now a firm believer in Righteous Felon. That's usually how it happens, though. It's like I drunkenly order it once, and that's I'm hooked.
They have a ton of amazing flavors. So you guys absolutely go check out righteousfelon.com. What was that?
You spend 10 minutes looking through the flavors. You're like, how
Honestly,
is this jerky?
Honestly, go get the gift set. You're going to get a ton of jerky. I know I shared some with Jeremy. It's been a while, but I got the gift set. I think it was like last Christmas or something, man. It might have been after that, but it's been almost a year since I ordered that gift set. But yeah, some really good jerky. Absolutely, go check them out. righteousfelon.com. And then that was promo code BellyUpSports. And get yourself an amazing 15% off. But guys, let's jump into the NFL playoffs. We're all excited to get to the playoffs. I know Hector's probably more excited than the rest of us. Jared, it's just like, hey, my team's in the playoffs again. Let's just get to it and let's get it rolling. Although, so I'm not rooting against your Eagles. All right, I'm not. But it's hard for me. It's hard for me not to root for my boy Baker. It's hard for me not to root for him. I'm going to be rooting for Jalen just as much. You know, I love both of them. It's Oklahoma quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, the Oklahoma quarterback. He is an Oklahoma quarterback. Don't tell me anything else. Don't tell me anything different. But
you and Kev can fight out on the street. I don't care.
But no, he's a great quarterback. He definitely honed in his skills under Lincoln Riley, and went on. But Baker, he's an Oklahoma guy through and through. Grew up an Oklahoma fan. Walked on at Oklahoma, did everything that he did there at Oklahoma. I don't blame anyone for hating Baker Mayfield.
For anyone for smashing the flag in the middle of the field.
I mean, I was there at that game too, and
that shit.
Man, I think that was the greatest moment of my entire fandom of being an Oklahoma Sooner. Because I moved to Columbus, Ohio, just shortly before that. Go to my first Ohio State game in the shoe. It was fun getting to see Baker plant the flag right there. And I know I've got plenty of Ohio guys too, so I'm going to rub it in. Plenty of Ohio guys from Belly Up, so I'm going to make sure to rub it in as much as I can, just to bring that back up. But no, Baker, he's always going to have my heart. I don't even think I have it down here right now. I always planned on hanging it up because I had the Christmas tree behind me, so I was going to hang up the Baker Mayfield jersey right here. But maybe I need to get a new one, get a Bucs jersey instead of that ugly Browns jersey. But let's get into it, guys, because I guess, looking at the playoffs, this might be one of the most exciting setups for the playoffs I've seen in a long time. But taking a look through, I want to ask you guys who the most likely underdog to win in Wildcard weekend is, because we've got the Texans, obviously, sitting there at +2.5, the Dolphins sitting at +4. And let me tell you right now, down in Kansas City, it is cold and it is snowy and, I don't know.
They can get tickets for dirt cheap.
The Miami boys are going to have to come up here and get adjusted. I know Tyreek played in Kansas City. You can give me that all you want. But he's been out of Miami for a little bit now. And I heard he had a nice little bonfire that he was warmed up out here just recently too. But no, I'm glad everybody was safe in that.
You sick bastard.
I heard everyone was safe. Nobody got hurt, so it's okay to joke about it. He's a millionaire. He can go buy a new house.
$9 million.
But no, I really do hope everything's good there.
And flying to Cancun.
Exactly. But so you got the Miami Dolphins sitting there at 4-point underdog. The Packers, the biggest underdog of the weekend, 7.5-point underdog. The Rams, a 3-point underdog going to the Lions. And then, of course, the Buccaneers hosting your Eagles at a 3-point underdog as well. Those numbers may have changed too, because I know I put
those
these.
Numbers have changed actually.
Have they?
Yeah, I think the Texans are 1.5, right?
Oh, you know what? I don't think I marked down the Steelers at all, so that's my bad. I didn't even mark down the Steelers. Right, that's how much I care about the Steelers.
Steelers are 10.
About them anyway.
So the Steelers are not one of the bigger underdogs that are gonna win this weekend. So let's just put them out of it. They're out of contention. You're not gonna win. Going outside of that, I guess I'm pulling it up right now too, so I have it in front of me. Hector, I'm going to start off with you because I feel like I know who your pick is going to be, and you can be a homer all you want. Who's the underdog that's going to come away with the victory this weekend?
You're goddamn right. I'm going to pick the Texans. I mean, there's no way I'm not going to pick my team. One, it's official. NRG is sold out. Are they going to show up on time? Don't ask me. But it is a packed house for NRG. The Texans haven't been in the playoffs since 2019. There's so much excitement about this team. CJ Stroud, I mean, if you would have told me a while back that we were going to lose Deshaun Watson, thank God, and get C.J. Stroud. Look, I thank God every single day that the Carolina Panthers drafted Bryce Young because they're morons, and we got the real quarterback. C.J. Stroud, bro, has been amazing from day one, dude. I loved everything about this guy, but also the way this team has turned around in just 1 year is just great. I understand that Cleveland, their defense is really good, and I'm not gonna sleep on them for that. I know Joe Flacco should be the comeback player of the year.
So Blaine hopped in the chat earlier, and he said Joe Flacco taking him to the Super Bowl this year. Lions versus Browns. It's scripted for all those conspiracy theorists out there.
I saw the script too. And and the Texans were in there. So you're telling
you must have seen the pre-script. They rewrote it, and then the Texans were in there.
But hey, we just saw a national championship. We saw Harbaugh lift it. That's cool. We only need one Harbaugh to win something. We only need one Harbaugh. So John don't need no more. He's got one. He's got his one. He's good.
Well, then Chris Prince hopped in and he says Joe Flacco ultimately eliminating the Ravens from the playoffs would be oddly suspicious. I mean, that is kind of funny to think that could be a scenario that we see. How crazy would that be?
Derek Stingley pick six.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I will also say this, that the important factor is that the Texans are going to finally be healthy, something that they haven't been all year. You're gonna face C.J. Stroud, and I think that he elevates that offense immediately. With Nick, I know a lot of people are gonna say Nico Collins is gonna be the main guy, but Noah Brown gets some really good looks from C.J. Stroud as well, and don't sleep on Dalton Schultz. So for all those factors, makes me confident. And plus, we have a kicker, unlike the Browns. His kicker's out. So I actually think that the Texans are gonna do this pretty well in front of their home crowd. I might even say it might be a two score difference when it comes to the Texans. I think the Texans will actually bet on the Texans. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Texans a lot, and what's crazy is I've been talking about the Texans all season long leading up. Man, it's crazy to see what C.J. Stroud has done. The guy that I was kind of on the fence with, because if you look back at his Ohio State days, and then you look at what Bryce Young was able to do, I do kind of agree with what the draft analysts were saying, that Bryce Young seems like the better quarterback, but there's just something about C.J. Stroud that you don't overlook. And I've been saying that about the dude since he got drafted, and obviously Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, whatever you want to give, whatever title you want to give him, whatever trophy you want to hand him, he deserves it all, man. I mean, he has played phenomenally, and honestly, if you take a couple of those losses out there, I put him up there for MVP this year, and that's insane to think about. I don't think he wins it over some of the other guys that are in there, but he's absolutely a finalist. So yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I like the Texans a lot. Jared, who's your underdog that you think is going to win this year? Obviously, it's the Bucs, right?
So the thing is I agree with Hector, and the thing is, in our preseason show, I took the Bucs at 8+ wins. And my reasoning was a bunch of young dudes who could score points, and they were keeping in games with Davis Mills, old long neck. So that being said, you put in C.J. Stroud, who I anointed as the Black Aaron Rodgers, because I literally said this kid has he basically is a carbon fiber copy of Aaron Rodgers with dreads and a little cleaner of a release and a slightly better alma mater. That's it. So I watch this kid run. I watch him throw. I watch his accuracy. I watch his reads. Everything is there. Does he have that it? That, I'm going to kill you, factor, right? And then I watch him beat multiple teams, game-winning drives, icing games, and I'm just like, oh, my God. And I look at the Browns, and can we also acknowledge the fact that they have been lucky multiple times to be bailed out by a missed tackle on David Njoku, shout Cedar Grove's finest, and Amari Cooper. Multiple weeks I've seen where Flacco delivers a strike, it's a 20-yard gain because they're playing press coverage and somebody misses off coverage and someone misses a tackle. and multiple times into the touchdown, game-winning drive, or go-ahead drive, or close to game-winning. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, damn, it's like the Browns are just getting these easy looks. I think the not the Buccaneers, the Texans are too young to care about how they're mostly a lot of these guys are first-time playoff appearance guys. Because last time the Texans were in the playoffs was mid-COVID. Deshaun Watson was still the quarterback. I believe Lamar Miller was still the running back. Brandon Cooks, wide receiver 2, Will Fuller, I think was still on the team. I don't even know. So Hector, you can probably fact check this better than me. But most of these dudes weren't on this roster. D'Amico was not on this roster either. And what makes this better is that I thoroughly think they're going to beat this team. So
Yeah, I mean,
the one player that's probably been on the roster, and don't quote me on this one, but like that's also with D'Amico Ryans was probably John Weeks, the long snapper.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just seeing this team too, I just feel like they've got something about them that they definitely bring. They're gonna bring everything to the table, and they want to win. You think of C.J. Stroud, go back to last year in that playoff game against Georgia. C.J. Stroud looked okay all season long. He looked like a pretty good quarterback. He made some really good throws, really good decisions, but there just wasn't that game that stood out like, man, this dude is an absolute dog. That Georgia game in the playoffs, that was when he stood out the most, and that's when he looked the best. And ever since that moment, I've absolutely had the utmost respect for him. I won't root for the Browns. I see we got Smat Talk down there. They're talking some ish as well, but more or less about the Steelers though. So I haven't seen them say anything about the Texans. That's kind of funny that they're worried about the Steelers when that's not who's at hand. They must not want that smoke. But I have no respect for the Browns ever since getting rid of Baker Mayfield for Deshaun Watson of all people, especially with all the scandals that were going on with him at the time. Hector, do you have an opinion on Deshaun Watson? Are you glad he's gone? Did you?
So my thoughts on the booty hole bandit.
NFL Bill Cosby, what up?
Look. Before the scandal, this is all before the God knows how many masseuses at this point. When he started being very sketchy about like wanting out of Houston and not talking to, not like you had people like representing him talk about it, not necessarily Deshaun talking about it. I also have a Deshaun Watson jersey, which I still don't know what the hell I'm gonna do with that. Someone told me he'll buy it from me. I don't know. At this point, I'll take $20 for Deshaun Watson. If you guys want to set it on fire, cool. I'm not. Do what you guys want to do. I need some sort of profit from it at this point.
I don't blame you one bit if you can get money out of it, because the Browns are losing money on it, so you might as well get some money out of it.
Yeah,
I'm profiting whereas they are not. But the thing is with him just letting other people talk for him, and then him just tweeting rap lyrics that kind of was like, is this cryptic? Is this not cryptic? Dude, like, I Jared can probably understand this as well. It's just like, for me to respect somebody as a man, just be upfront. Tell me if you don't like it here. That's fine. I can live with that. As someone as a Houston sports fan, I understand that there's guys that are going to just leave and go to bigger markets. I get it, and I'm fine with it. I move on from it as well. But like, for you to do all this shit, you took a fucking contract extension. You signed it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not happy. Like, that's the thing with me was that he had buyer's remorse, right? When you buy that piece of shit F-150, and I speak this from experience, you buy this piece of shit F-150, and then you realize as you're driving off the lot with it, and you're like, oh, wait, that transmission sounds a little bit off. I don't know if I really want to be here.
No, I love the analogy too. I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, I liked Deshaun Watson. I thought he was. I loved watching his career from Clemson, going to Houston, doing what he did there. I think he was a good quarterback, and I think he had a lot of talent. but he lost all respect for me after after all of that. And it was obvious too, because all of the judges were even saying that some of the testimony and the things coming out against him that were kind of proven right now. I don't think everyone told the truth. I think there was probably some women in there that were lying to get some money. I definitely think that could have been the case. I'm not going to say that there were 100%, but I think that's definitely a high possibility. I just have no respect for the dude. And then you go to the Browns, you get signed as the highest paid quarterback ever, and
fully guaranteed.
Then fully guaranteed. And so I mean, just you get that full guarantee money, and then you get a little banged up, and you're like, I think I'm just going to sit out, even though I could work back to playing again this year. I'm just going to sit out because I'm getting paid either way. That is a total bitch move, and I hate it.
I'm gonna say some things. One, I'm a pretty admirable guy. I'm very respectful. I mean, Jared can speak a lot of nice things about me, but I'm also really fucking petty. So
that's kind of just about every Marine that I've met. Kind of admirable and a little petty at the same time.
Yeah.
I honestly love it that Joe Flacco became the guy.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
The fact that everyone's praising a guy that literally stepped off his couch and is winning. I hated watching him actually give Amari Cooper the record. Fuck Amari Cooper. But aside from that though, I just loved it that at the end of it all. And also Deshaun Watson didn't have the balls to come be with his team while they're traveling. It tells me a lot of things about what that guy's really all about. So it's always been fuck Deshaun Watson since he's left. I didn't ride with Davis Mills because I thought he was trash. But now that you have CJ Stroud, it's like what the whole Thanos thing. At what cost? It was everything, and it was worth it. It was very much worth it now because now
now you got DeMeco Ryans in doing what he did in year one. I mean, and he was a big part of guys like Will Anderson. I think he was a part of getting CJ Stroud in. And I think that was just an obvious pick anyways. But, just the guys that you have that are so young. And then, of course, having Nico Collins and, just all of the talent that was brought into Houston, I think that's really big.
But
Jeremy,
the experience that was added into it, I mean, probably – I know Schultz is probably not the one person you think of when it comes to Dallas Cowboys, but bringing in Schultz, bringing in Jimmy Ward, though I think he'll probably be out for this game. And then bring in Devin Singletary. You're bringing guys that know what it needs to be done to win these games, and I think props to one, obviously DeMeco Ryans, but also Nick Caserio for being aggressive in the draft and going back into the early rounds to go ahead and get Willie Anderson, but also, I mean, props to Cal McNair and Hannah McNair, specifically Hannah McNair. She's an amazing, beautiful woman. The way that she's turning around the way they're turning around this franchise, man. I mean, shit. Next year we're getting a whole new jersey setup, so we're they have
be like Oregon or what?
Yeah, it was fucking 2 decades at this point. Shit, man, y'all all behind the 8 ball.
No, I mean, that's what's crazy though. I don't think you even need new jerseys. I like the Texan uniforms, honestly. I've heard a lot of people hate on
jerseys, but
I personally like it.
I'm always down for a new look. So.
I'm down for a little change up here and there, but for example, I'm an Oklahoma fan, and we've had the same boring jerseys forever, but I wouldn't want to change it for the world. I like the traditional. I love the fact that we add in other jerseys here and there. For the Eagles, add in them Kelly Greens every once in a while. The Seahawks throwing them those throwbacks. Ooh, yeah, throw the. I mean, actually, I'm all for it. Go back to the throwbacks every week.
Honestly, though, if the Times were in such hoes, fuck Amy Adams. We should be getting the Oilers. We should have the Oilers jerseys. I just want to say that.
But I think we've talked enough about this one. Unless that's your pick as well, Jeremy. Is there another underdog that you like? Because personally, looking at it, so of course you got the Dolphins. I don't know if I believe in them. Personally, my pick that I'm going with, I think the Packers kind of have a scary good chance of sneaking in there and taking down the Cowboys. So I'm picking the Packers as my underdog, and they're a 7-point underdog. I kind of like them sneaking in there just because the Cowboys have been known throughout history, and history does repeat itself, to choke in big moments like this. And so personally, I'm kind of looking at that one. That's my underdog pick, although I am going to be rooting for the Rams because I don't like the petty Lions fans. They're kind of, banning Matthew Stafford's jersey, everyone boo him and all this stuff.
Report. For
the sake of Mike, I'm not going to speak on that one.
That was a fake report. Some dude spread it and a car catching wildfire.
It was, but there was also a bunch of other fans that I saw on social media all over the place that were all for it. I think there's more fans against it. I do think that, but just because of those, like that 10%, I'm rooting for Matthew Stafford now, man. Go in there and beat up your old team. But
he got his shit over.
Jeremy, what's your pick for an underdog that's going to come out of Wildcard weekend with a win?
The only team that's coming out with a Wildcard win, I think. You talked a little bit about him, Josh, and now I'm going to talk about Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here.
Jared, plug your ears.
Jeremy's just trying to start a fight at this point, man.
Hey, I'm down to swing. That's for damn sure.
I know you're a hockey player, so it's going to be fun, but like.
Hockey player, football player, wrestler, basketball player.
Us edge rushers fight dirty, so we're good.
Hey, I was defensive lineman. I know how to play damn
He's from
dirty.
Oklahoma.
Shit. But talking about like obviously with Baker Mayfield. He's Josh, you've obviously got me into Oklahoma football, and that's when I got big into Oklahoma. Then obviously you were the one that got me to go down to Oklahoma to see my first Boomer Sooner game. Then that was definitely a trip I'll never ever forget. And then obviously I know you and I will definitely be back, to say the least. But talking about Baker Mayfield and what he's done for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers earlier in the year, obviously you mentioned to me this is like the make or break year for Baker Mayfield here. And you look at what Baker Mayfield has definitely done, and he's just been flat out just putting everything out there, just like what you would see him do at Oklahoma. And Baker Mayfield, look at the weapons that he has. Obviously, Mike Evans. Then I'm used to always seeing him for Tampa Bay with Scotty Miller, but obviously you never hear anything about him anymore. But just obviously take it for granted they don't have Leonard Fournette, obviously. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are still obviously able to find ways to win games here. And I know, like you said, obviously from what we got, it's a 3.0. I don't know what it currently is now. But it still is 3. Okay. But looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I definitely think they have a good shot of it. But one thing to add on, the only reason why the Dallas Cowboys keep choking is because they have to listen to Stephen A. Smith bullshit about every single Sunday. And that is the single thing that I deprive off of.
How about them Cowboys?
Damn straight.
You know what, though? Like, Jeremy, you and I have talked about this plenty of times, too. I feel like the more I hear Stephen A. kind of behind the scenes from just his normal shows, I appreciate that man more and more because that's just him. That's just who he is. He's emphatic because he likes the reaction. I always thought he was kind of faking it and just kind of being, kind of not really original and just he's not being authentic. But that's authentically him. I'm starting to gain a lot more respect for him, and I also love the mind games he plays with the Cowboys fans.
I look forward to every single day where he comes out into his show, which was it, First Take?
Yeah, First Take.
The First Take in a cowboy hat and
smoking
suit,
looking
like a guy from Yellowstone. and no man, dude, it's always obviously as a person from Houston, it's always fuck Dallas, but yeah, bro, dude, I don't know what it is. Packers seems to be the kryptonite.
Yeah,
there's so many playoff moments.
How about this? How about this playoffs too? When you think about, so obviously I think so you've got Deshaun Watson, his team, because he's a little crybaby and he doesn't want to play. His team going against his former team. Then you've got the Dolphins. You've got Tyreek Hill going against his former team. Then you've got Mike McCarthy having to go against his former team. Then you've got Stafford going against his former team. And then you've got Oklahoma quarterbacks facing down. So just all of these storylines. There's a hidden storyline in every single game, and it's a lot of fun looking at it. This is like I said, I think this might be one of the most exciting playoff brackets that I've seen in a really long time, at least that I can remember. But jumping out of the comments real quick, just to kind of catch up on some things that I've been seeing. We got Ryan McCarthy jumping in saying MILF, and not what you guys are thinking, get your mind out of the gutter. Man, I love football. And then, of course, Brent hops in before having to go and record his show. That's a man of the people right there. And then we've also got Smat Talk kind of going down there, and he says, let's see here. I know I saw it. I didn't save it. He jumps in and starts talking a little bit about it. He says the Browns haven't played C.J. Stroud, and C.J. Stroud ain't playing the Browns. I mean, you guys can keep on talking that ish. And then we've got Chet down there too. He's just talking about LSU women's basketball. Nobody cares, Chet. We're not LSU boys around here. We're not talking about LSU. And Jaden Daniels still didn't deserve the Heisman. Anyways, let's go ahead and move down. We've also got Carson Turner going in there, Jeremy, and saying "Go Broncos" as if that was a relevant term, anything today. And then John Sam jumping in there saying something about Alabama beat reporters are reporting that Alabama has agreed to principle with West Virginia head coach Neil Brown. John Sam also jumped in our chat yesterday, I think, and said something about throwing Eric Bieniemy in there for the mix for the head coaching job of Alabama. So, John, if you are credible, you may be one of our inside guys if any of this comes into fruition. Outside of that, I'm just going to call BS on any of that because I don't know about Neil Brown. But, guys, let's jump real quick. We'll wrap it up with some of the coaching fires, the firings that went on. Today, it finally broke that it is official. The Patriots are separating their ties with Bill Belichick. So that's one guy that isn't going to be there. Then we've also got Mike Vrabel fired from the Titans. That was the most surprising to me because I know he had a bad season, but man, the dude I think he's a good coach, and I think he's going to do just fine somewhere else. We've got Ron Rivera fired by Washington, Arthur Smith fired by Atlanta, about time, and then Pete Carroll, it is official that he is stepping away from the Seahawks. And so looking at all of these coach firings and openings, what took you by surprise the most, and what opening do you think has the best potential for a big-time coach? Jared, we'll start off with you.
I'll double dip and make this quick. The one surprising the most was definitely Mike Vrabel. The Titans are definitely going to regret this. He's the best coach they've had in least recent memory.
Mutual parting of ways. Let's fix the language here.
Not that one. I'm not buying it for that one.
I'm not buying that one either. I think Mike probably told the ownership.
Look, I know. Let's not believe in Amy Adams. I agree with you. But let's go with the quote.
All right. And then the most likely landing spot I think is going to be a huge blow up is I think Bill Belichick either to the Falcons or Chargers. Both the Falcons encompassing him taking like a veteran quarterback with him, possibly a certain former Vikings quarterback with a recover from an Achilles injury, or going to the Chargers where he can basically, hey, Justin, throw 40 touchdowns and I'll just shut up the opposing team. So either way, I think Bill going to either the Chargers or Falcons is a nightmare scenario.
Wherever Bill goes, they go 9-0 and then he retires.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hector, how about you, man? Let's go for kind of the same thing there. What one took you by surprise, and which coaching position do you think is going to be the most sought after for other coaching?
Daniel Smoot of Time to BS. Obviously, me and him go all the way back another sports network that we won't talk about right now. But now we're belly up. But look, man, Pete Carroll. Look, I mean, say what you want to say, but Pete Carroll has done, I think, a really good job with Seattle. I was very taken back by him stepping down from the head coaching role. I know he's going to take, I guess, a promotion, if you will. I think that's an interesting move, but I think that's just the amount of respect that you have for Pete Carroll. I think for what he's brought to Seattle. I mean, he brought the city a Super Bowl, where he's going to have some sort of say. It's going to be interesting who ends up taking that job. I'm not going to say that like Seattle's the sexiest of jobs because depending on how you feel about Geno Smith, maybe you might want a quarterback there, but you definitely have the fan base there. It's an interesting one, but. Jared was talking about Bill Belichick and where he could possibly go, and I do think the Chargers is probably one of the sexiest places for him. If anything, Atlanta makes a lot of sense for him as well. But But if you want like a place where you can win now, and a place where if Bill Belichick's looking like, dude, I could fucking do something with this place, it's got to be the Chargers, man. Like it's crazy to me how very like underperforming the Chargers have been. Like everybody, I'm sure everybody's hyped up the Chargers in some extent.
They got a lot of
Has
talent.
hyped up the Chargers. Like the talent is there. Like I know we hype up Justin Herbert, but I think it's because we see the value in Justin Herbert. You talked a lot of things about Baker Mayfield, and I love Baker Mayfield. I think I have so much fun watching that guy because he's really good. Dude can dance. That's also the thing that I like about him. But he's a really good quarterback. It just so much disrespect that the guy has. I think it's kind of along the lines with Justin Herbert as well. Is there's clearly some talent. The defense, like the defense is good. I think if you're Bill Belichick, you can get 9 wins from that team.
Yeah. I think the Falcons would be a little harder than the Chargers. It'd be harder to win 9 in Atlanta. But I do think Atlanta needs to be reignited because that fan base is starting to die down, and I don't know what happens after they die just a little more. But Jeremy, we'll do a quick fire with you, man. What about you for actually, before I go to you too, Kelsey threw down in the comments, he says, don't forget about Doug Peterson being fired in Jacksonville. I did not hear about that one, so thanks for throwing that one down. I didn't hear about that. Apparently, Doug Peterson fired in Jacksonville. That might have taken me by more surprise than Vrabel. That, and then also, of course, I think Pete Carroll stepping away was a big one. But Jeremy, for you, what's the most surprising, and which opening do you think is the sexiest?
Obviously, the big surprise, Vrabel with Tennessee. That was definitely a dumb move for the Tennessee organization. But, I mean, looking at the overall, going along what everyone's talked about for a possible location, destination for Bill Belichick, obviously between the Falcons and the Chargers. But now that I want your guys' opinion on this too. Now that Dougie P is being fired in Jacksonville, having a younger quarterback.
I just confirmed he's not.
He's not.
Kelsey, you liar.
I was going to say, I didn't see anything about that.
I knew I should have never trusted an Auburn boy.
No way. Ain't no way you can fire him back.
This is like, I'm going to say this, like Marine Corps basic training. When you're away from everything, like you have no, obviously no cell phone, no nothing. You're away from everything. The only thing you can get from news is like letters. Your drill instructor will fuck with you. Dude, I thought for the longest in 2010 that Beyonce was dead. Like they told me, dude, hey, who loves Beyonce? I was like, well, I fucking love Beyonce. And they're like, she's dead. I was like, oh my God.
He started crying right there.
Like, ah! The queen. The queen bee.
Not my queen. You can't take her from us. I
don't sip on the Kool-Aid.
Just
from Kelsey.
You just don't trust an Auburn boy. Those dudes down in Alabama, man, you just can't trust any of them.
Well, I mean, Alabama's already going through enough now with Nick Saban, so there's probably got so much emotions just bottled up. They're just probably letting it all out.
And of course, Auburn fans are just so excited to spread a bunch of lies, apparently, like, who the next coach is going to be down there at Alabama, all that kind of stuff. But, guys, that's pretty much all we got. We're not going to get to UFC, but we're definitely going to touch on UFC next time we come on, and that's in 2 weeks from now. So make sure to check in with us again on the 4th Thursday of, I guess, this month in January. So what is that? Is that going to be the 28th? Do I have that right? I'm trying to think. 24th. Trying to think in my head.
25th.
25th. Okay, I was close. I was right around the ballpark.
I'm going to do some research to UFC, man. It's been a while.
25th. If you make sure to follow Belly Up Sports on all social media, you're going to get us. You're going to be able to see plenty of updates and letting you know when that's going to happen. But, guys, make sure to tune in again then whenever we do another Belly Up After Dark. We'll make sure to switch up the panel plenty so you hear from a bunch of different Belly Up guys. We thank everybody for jumping in and hitting that like button. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. We had a big something big for the Belly Up guys for how many likes we could get. We didn't quite reach our target, but you guys can definitely help us reach that target. Maybe I'll shove that back a little bit. So if you're watching this after the fact, I'm going to give it till noon tomorrow. So make sure to hit that like button to make somebody here at Belly Up very happy. But guys, we thank everybody so much for all of the love and support. You can find everything that we do at Belly Up on bellyupsports.com. You can check us out there. We've got Jared Clem from the Corner Booth podcast, Hector Flores from Insert Name FC podcast, and then Jeremy and I from Rising to the Occasion. You can check out all of us on our respective channels as well. So guys, we thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.